When your life's on the line in a gunfight, time is of the essence, and two things that play a big factor with your speed are going to be the gear that you use, as well as the training you have and the proficiency you have in those fighting skill sets. You need to be training to react under stress, because the real fight is going to be a stressful one, and it's going to have variables, so you need to be training accordingly. On the flip side of that, it comes down to the gear that you use. Today we're going to be talking about gun belts, how to pick an appropriate gun belt, and some of my tips, so stick around. Welcome back, guys. So most of you know by now I'm a pretty big advocate for concealed carry. I'm actually an appendix carry kind of guy myself. It just works best for my body and my mechanics. Now, what works best for me is probably not going to work best for you. You know, we're all different sizes and shapes, therefore we all have different necessities out of our gear. So when it comes down to gun belts, you know, it's a really big factor in concealed carry, and the ability to carry comfortably as well as get a good consistent draw every time. Now, when it comes to belts, there's tons and tons of different options out there, right? So obviously when we're talking about gun belts, we're not talking about belts like this, right? Like, this is just your typical fashion belt. You get it on most of your shorts when you go out and buy them. Sometimes your shorts will even come with this belt pre-sewn into it. This is crap when it comes down to it, guys. I mean, it barely functions as a fashion belt, so it's definitely not going to work as a gun belt. It's way too flimsy, right? Like, when we're talking about gun belts, you need something with some rigidity to it, and this is definitely not going to cut it. So throw these in the trash. I've had the opportunity to work with some higher end belt manufacturers such as Slide Belts. Now, this is another fashion type belt. It's a little more thick, it's got a little bit more rigidity to it, and it's one of the cool ratcheting type systems, right? You put it in and it ratchets together. Really cool belt. It's good, it's nice on the fashion end, but it's still a little bit too flimsy. This is not a gun belt, although it is thicker. And you can carry with it, it's just not going to be effective, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I've used a few different Slide belts. This is one of their fashion belts, and then I've also used their survival belt. You guys have probably seen me do the review on this. Now, this belt definitely has enough rigidity to it. It's made out of a glass-filled nylon, and it's like rubbery, if you will, and it's got a lot of rigidity to it. You can't really fold that over, and so this is going to work really well for a gun belt. Now, the only thing I don't like about Slide belts, whether it's this survival belt or whether it's the fashion belt, I don't think Slide belt actually makes a dedicated gun belt. Now, there's some differences and different aspects that you need in a gun belt versus a fashion belt. You don't really want to use the two interchangeably. Now, with this survival belt, can it be used as a gun belt? Certainly. I've definitely used it as that multiple times. But one thing I don't like about Slide belts compared to the belt that I'm about to show you here in a minute from Core Essentials is that Slide belts locking up, their locking mechanisms tend to not to be as effective, right? So whenever you mount the buckle onto the clip here, onto the belt, you get these teeth, right? And these teeth slide right in there and they bite down into the material. Now, the survival belt locks up a lot more effectively than the fashion belt. I will give it that. But as you can see, with a little bit of effort, and I didn't realize this at first when I reviewed this belt, with a little bit of effort, it slides right out, especially after you've taken it on and off and it's popped on and off multiple times. What happens is that it wears down those bite marks, right? So over time, that's going to get looser and looser, and in order to mitigate that, you'd have to trim off more material and start a new bite. And that's just not really effective for me. I like this belt, it's cool, it's got some great features, a little bit overpriced in my opinion, but it's still a good belt and it's got its place. I just think it needs to be more appropriately priced and not recommended as a gun belt. Looking back at the fashion belt, aside from obviously it's not rigid enough for that, it uses the same kind of mechanism, right? It folds over and bites down into the material. Now watch this. If I push in a little bit, look how easy that just popped out. And it pulls right off. I don't know if that's something that happens consistently with their belts. I do know it's the same thing after it bites down into that enough times. It starts to wear down on the material, and you know, you would really just have to cut that off and start a new bite into the material to get a stronger grip. Now, one thing I will notice that their teeth, and I'll show you the comparison here in a second to Core Essentials, is that these teeth are really just not they're not adequate for biting down into that material good enough to where you get that real positive lockup. So I mean, like, it's good enough for a fashion belt. Now, like I said, this is why I wouldn't recommend it for a gun belt. It's, aside from it not being too rigid, it pops right off. I mean, like, that was almost zero effort right there. So if I bumped or moved the wrong way, right, and slid this buckle in that direction, I'm putting minimal pressure on this, guys. Minimal pressure, and it just pops right off. So slide belts, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I got some defective belts, but I would look into this, guys. Another option that you can look into are nylon belts, right? So this is made by True Spec. It's like a $15 belt, really cheap, and it uses a metal buckle. I prefer metal buckles when we're talking about a gun belt. I want something that's going to be reliable. So the only thing I don't like about this one is how big this buckle actually is, but it's a really simple mechanism here. You slide it in, comes through and comes back over the top, and you pull it, and it's got Velcro on this end, so whenever you lock it down, it stays in place. Now, this is a really good gun belt, don't get me wrong. This will work perfectly for a lot of people. And the one thing that you need to pay attention to when you're looking at nylon belts like this is it double layered, right? So you can tell right here with this that this is a double layered nylon. It's not single layer, so that's why you get that rigidity to it. Nylon by itself, single layer, is typically a little bit too flimsy, but with this, I mean, I can't even really bend that at all. So this is gonna work really well for a gun belt, and I use it every now and then. But for speed and depending upon my attire, I might go with something else. So like this might be a good option for what I'm wearing today. And I don't have it on specifically, so I can show you this next belt. Now, this next belt is made by Core Essentials. That's Core with a K. They are one of our alliance partners, and they sent me this belt over for review. This is from their professional design series. They actually also just came out with a tactical series called the Ultimate Belt, and it's a nylon belt just like the one I just showed you, but this one here is actually a professional style belt. It's made out of premium cowhide leather. It's stitched really nice. It's simplistic. It's made for business attire. It's got a nice, simplistic buckle on there, casual style metal buckle that it's not overt or anything like that, because nobody needs to know you're carrying. So when you're wearing business attire, this is a really good option if you're concealed carrying, especially IWB. Now, one thing with this belt, I'll go ahead and take this off here. So when it comes to the Core Essentials belt, much like the slide belts, it uses the same ratcheting style lockup, as well as it's got a little bit different quick release. On the slide belts, the buckle itself tends to have a lever that opens up. With this, it's just a little latch right here, a little button that you depress right there, and that will release the mechanism. Now, like I said, it uses the same ratcheting style system here, so we'll take a good look at that and see what the differences are there. It's pretty much identical. I can't really tell a difference in the design of the two. This is the slide belts on the left, this is Core Essentials on the right. So not a big difference there. However, the buckle and locking mechanism, I feel, is much more superior in quality. Now, as we take this off, we pop this off, it's got a little bit more ergonomics to the latch here. It's a little bit easier to get off. With the other one, you almost kind of need a tool. So with this one, the teeth on it are a lot more prominent, and they bite down into the leather really well. And I've not had any issues with this coming loose on the Core Essentials belt. So if we'll put that back in there, lock it back down into place, you hear that good positive snap there. As I pull on this, I'm not getting anything, guys. I could probably wiggle it off here with a little bit more effort, but I'm really not getting anything there. So that's got a good positive bite into that leather, and I really like that. So again, we pull it around here and we just slide straight through that hole there, really quick, locks it up. And with these ratcheting, the ratchet system itself, it gives you like 400% more adjustability as compared to a regular belt. With regular belts, you just got a hole every inch. This gives you 1/4 inch adjustments that you can make, and it's much more effective overall. Whenever you get this thing, they make it in a really large size that'll pretty much fit anybody, and then from there you trim it down. They actually provide you with a ruler printed onto the back here So whenever you wrap this thing around, you figure out exactly what your pant size is. It's pretty much what you want to go off of is your pant size. And then you want to add 4 inches. So if you're a 30 size waist, you want to go with a 34 inch size on your belt here. And all you need is a good strong pair of scissors. So you'll cut that off. And if you get it wrong the first time and it's not fitting right, sometimes that 4 inch rule might not work for everybody. So if you just leave it on and you put it over here and you just pop it back off, all you got to do is leave the leather on. You can go ahead and take the buckle off, but then just start trimming it off 1 inch at a time, and you don't have to actually take the belt off to do that. Another thing about the core belt is that it uses a reinforced steel core that goes all the way through it. That's what gives it its rigidity, and you can actually feel that and see it right here. So up to the very end right here, you need a little bit more flexibleness out of that end, but from right there you can see it in the bend there. That's when that steel core starts and goes all the way to the end. So you got a really rigid belt, even though it's made out of leather. So I'm an appendix carry kind of guy, like I said earlier, and one thing you're going to want to take into consideration here, if you're an appendix carry kind of person too, is the size of the buckle. One thing I really like about this core buckle is that while it's still stylish, it's not big and bulky, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's actually really lightweight and slim by design, so it's easy to maneuver. So when you're talking about appendix carry, if you don't move your buckle off the center line, obviously it's going to ride over top of the holster system, especially if you're rocking a holster system with the mag caddy or sidecar magazine attachment. So you're going to have a little bit more width out of your system here. So you might even have to offset your buckle a little bit more past that first loop if you need to. So that's one thing I like about this belt, is that you can easily slide that over and create the space that you need for appendix carry. So there's 5 key elements to picking a good quality gun belt that I think everybody should pay attention to. Number 1 is, does the belt have enough rigidness to support the weight of the firearm effectively? Number 2 is, does it have adjustable retention so you can dial it in and get it right where you need it to be? Number 3 is the belt comfortable? Number 4, does it have good quality materials? And number 5 is the belt versatile? You get all of the above with the core belt that we're working with here today. It's definitely rigid enough to support my firearm. I'm rocking a Glock 19 right now with a full mag and my holster set up, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Having a good rigid belt is going to allow you to get a good, consistent draw on your firearm every time. Now, also, this belt comes with the trackline system, so you get that adjustability out of it. It's actually, I think it's 400% more adjustable as compared to traditional belts, so you're able to fine-tune that adjustment and get it just where you need it to be. It's made out of very robust materials, it's very comfortable, and it's very versatile in the aspect that I can wear it with, my casual attire that I've got on today, as well as if I do decide to dress up and wear some business class attire, I've got a belt that's going to work for that as well. If you're leaning more on the tactical side of the spectrum, Core Essentials is also coming out with a new Ultimate belt in their tactical series. It's made out of a reinforced nylon, and it uses the same kind of trackline system to where you'll be able to get that same adjustable retention, and it's going to be a really good quality belt. I can't wait to get my hands on that to review it for you guys as well. And as always, guys, be sure to go click the links in the description below. If you dig this video, go support Core Essentials and pick up a gun belt of your own. You can use our fan code down in the description to get a discount and save some money. So that's coreessentials.com with a K. As always, guys, if you dig the content that we're putting out, be sure to go down into the comments and drop us a suggestion for future videos. If you got any questions, leave them down there. Like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more. So as always, guys, if you're looking to take your preparedness to the next level, be sure to go down into the description, click the link for our Warrior Tribe, and get signed up for $1 today, and we can start taking your preparedness to the next level. Till next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.